This is a 200-watt pulsed laser cleaner by Porsche Laser, and this is a box of magnesium Porsche oil pumps. One of my viewers sent me these, and he actually restores and rebuilds these for a living. I'll put a link to his website down in the description. Now, magnesium is even lighter than aluminum. However, it does have a downfall, and that's that it does corrode over time, as you can see here. And it's also a lot more difficult to clean and restore than aluminum. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen a magnesium fire, but we're gonna be doing this near the door today, just to play it safe. Worst case, Ontario. I started by turning the power down to 50%. And we'll try the rectangle 1 setting for an even surface. The width of the laser is only set to 15 millimeters right now, which covers a much smaller surface area, but was good for a test on a small area of the magnesium piece. It did a great job at vaporizing this heavy corrosion. This pulse laser doesn't generate a lot of heat like a continuous wave laser, so I had nothing to worry about as far as a potential magnesium fire. So here's the first pass, and right away I noticed that it does clear up a lot of the dirt and corrosion on here, but if you zoom in, actually leaves an etched surface. You can hear me dragging my fingernail on this. It's not as smooth as, say, this surface here. But I'm also cleaning a heavily corroded area to begin with. You can see it's even wearing down my fingernail a little bit. This is very similar to the result of using the laser cleaner on aluminum. This time I'm going to use a different cleaning method, and we'll see how it does on this side. We'll go with revolve and see how this does. Now on the first pass, it sort of had a white chalky finish. You can see it a little bit over here. I went back for a second pass, and now you can see it's more of the bare magnesium, sort of a silver finish here. But overall, it still has a very rough or etched surface to it. You hear me scratching my nail on it and wearing down my fingernail there. Definitely would need to go back with some vapor blasting to get this to a smooth, natural cast looking finish. And both of these two tests were at 50% power. Let's go up to 100% power, full 200 watts, and try that in the surface, because the whole point of this is to save time. So we'll see if the 200 watts causes any damage to the surface. Now on that test, you saw me really concentrating on this right side here to see what kind of damage a laser could actually do to a decent finish on the magnesium surface. And if you look real close, yes, you can see a lot of the etching, but I actually sort of etched into the surface. You can see this blackest point right there. That's where I was really focusing that laser. Look at that, it actually went into the surface. It's still kind of hot for me to touch, but that's a definite crevice. Even the rest of the surface, where it was once smooth, is now very, very rough and very etched. I mean, this feels probably about like, I'd say 120 grit sandpaper. I think it would actually sand down the wood. Yeah, look, there's sawdust and pieces of wood coming off there. There's what it did. Again, I don't have a scientific tool to tell me how deep these etches are, but smooth there. You can see I can scratch it a little bit. Quite rough there. And when you get over to this one, it's almost like a cavity has started to form. I've got a clean one here with just a little bit of tarnish on the surface, but we'll go with rectangle 2, which will give us a second pass in the perpendicular direction, and we'll see how that does with just a quick cleanup of the surface. We'll go back down to 50% power for this test, And I'll be sure not to spend too much time on one area of the surface. So at 50%, which is 100 watts, the surface didn't get all of the very deep etching, but there is still some very fine etching in the surface here. Not really catching too much on the end of the scribe here, but compared to before, it's still definitely not as smooth. Here's a really close look with my camera, but as far as I can zoom in. So you definitely don't need a lot of power if you're gonna try and laser clean magnesium parts. Let's try those settings that I just did on this area here with very heavy corrosion. And again, the same etching in the surface, maybe a little bit more this time because I did go over the area with a couple extra passes to try to remove all that corrosion. Because I'm cleaning with light, anywhere light can reach, the machine can clean. And on this one, I'm going to try the inside. There's a bunch of oil and gunk in there. Let's see what that does. And then the outside is completely corroded on this one. So after we do the inside, we'll go for the outside next and see what can happen with this. For removing oil, I like to use a cycle ring setting. So here's how the inside turned out. You can see all the oil is pretty much removed. There's a little bit of corrosion on there actually. And as for the really heavy corroded area, it is just full of craters. So laser cleaning magnesium does strip the surface of corrosion, but of course any pitting is still going to be there. And if you use too much power for too long in one area, the etching gets pretty deep into the surface. If you're not going to be painting these parts, I'd follow up with vapor blasting to get a smooth surface if the etched surface isn't what you're looking for. Thanks for watching.